In 1985, I was a Kentucky Colonel columnist, and I had a popular column, and I loved music, and I found that there was nothing to listen to on Lexington radio.
It was a cultural wasteland when it came to music.
We had Top 40, we had a very strong album-oriented radio station, and there was not much else.
There was not even any competition among classic rock FM stations. There was WKQQ, and that's it.
Lexington hadn't even heard the Ramones yet.
That was kind of frustrating to me, wanting to learn about new music.
To find any music, you had to look really hard and pick up an album and like, this album looks awesome, I'll buy it. I have no idea what it sounds like.
I mean, we didn't have nothing to listen to back then.
Won't you come on down to my rescue?
So I wrote a column suggesting that the University of Kentucky needed a second radio station. My editors headlined it Radio Free Lexington, What Lexington Needs, because REM had their Radio Free Europe tune out at the time.
I was in student government, and I remember we talked about, could this exist, could it be real, and how we'd go about doing it.
Khaki had put together a few folks previously and had done a little bit of groundwork and a little bit of legal groundwork, but as far as putting a group of people together to actually build this thing, create this thing, really didn't exist.
We came up with the idea to have a student organization, which we called Radio Free Lexington.
Second was, okay, how are we going to take this idea of let's have a college radio station, which everybody of course loved, into something that could actually go into fruition.
I was vice president for administration at the time, I think, that this radio station began. And I had known Khaki, who was zany, irrepressible, sometimes nuts, and she came to my office and said, we want to start this radio station. And she was dragging along this scruffy-looking boy that had an ear ring in one ear and torn knee breeches, whose name was Mark Beatty. And the two of them, importuned me to assist with this project. And so I said I would.
I can clearly remember Khaki and Mark Beatty and a couple of other students stepping into the doorway to my office and saying, we're going to start a radio station on campus. And I think my response was, okay, let me know what I can do to help.
The obstacles were the huge amount of money that we raised from different sources, and that was primarily due to both a grassroots effort from the general membership of the group and then the work from the successive general managers working with the administration, the SGA.
From the time when we finally got money for the frequency search, I knew that we'd find financing for the Capitol, and Otis Singletary would later help us get that job done, God rest his soul.
If a student got to Singletary, which wasn't very often, he was a pussycat when it came to students. He'd always cave in to whatever they wanted to do. But in this instance, he was quite positive about it. He and I both thought that this group of students will sustain this endeavor. They'll get it up. They may even get it going. Who knows?
This group of students knew that they could accomplish everything and anything they put their hearts into.
To get the station on the air, there were a lot of people involved that you wouldn't think would be involved. They weren't bohemians or ex-60s radicals or anything like that. They just thought that this was a good idea for the university and for the community. And that's the one thing that stuck out to me.
Let's face it, when you're going to elected officials and you're asking for money for alternative music and dialogue, it tends to raise the questions of, what's that? Because, I worked with a few people on the council that really had some difficulty in even supporting Toyota coming to Kentucky. But we got beyond that very quickly because it was real obvious that this group of people, these young students, not only had an idea, but they also determined that there was a need in the community.
You had this ragtag band of misfits, as I like to call them, that were just busting ass trying to get this to happen, and it actually did.
We would never have left until it actually did happen, you know? I mean, I think we all stuck around forever, you know? We all went into our 5th, 6th years of college, whatever it was going to take to finally get it all done, you know?
I think the things that helped us make it happen when it did was the right group of people getting together at a time in their lives when they had the time to actually do this, because it was outside of school, it was everybody's full-time job. It took that much effort.
We had something in common, and it was this, not a lot, mind you, but the desire to put this radio station on the air.
Everyone involved at the beginning, yay for you.
I think the moment that we received the license to construct the station, giving us 18 months to construct a radio station, was one of the absolute high points.
Radio is a sound salvation. Radio is cleaning up the nation.
We got a bunch of saws, nails, screws, and plywood, and we built the stuff. Remarkably enough, everything fit.
Once we had the studios actually set, particularly for me, the production studio, there were those of us that were there. I was there for 24-hour stretches, you know, just making stuff.
Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, now Constantinople, been a long time gone. Constantinople, now it's Turkish delight on a moonlit night.
These shelves, Mick Jeffries and I made these shelves, and Jim Owens painted the black.
These
Shelves, we built these shelves.
I was thinking it was just me, but you were involved, right?
It was at my house. These are my screws. You can tell because they're square.
That's right. I did learn the square head screw from you.
Yeah.
It was a fairy tale on a certain level. We all kind of were like, we're putting a radio station on the air. But it became real when records started showing up.
We had them, we unpacking them, it was like Christmas. It was like Christmas when we got our first big shipment of albums, going through them, sorting them out. Me, you know, frantically, you know, where's Metallica? Where's the Iron Maiden? Looking for the metal stuff. It was a lot of fun.